If you believe getting a good night's sleep is important, stick around. We've got an expert doing this for almost 40 years. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to Your Little Castle Show. Get to talk to experts that know what they're talking about. We've got 39 years, coming up on 40 years of experience with somebody in the industry that is vital. I mean, people talk about, I didn't realize until you summarized that. I liked what you said in the first show. You got to eat right, you got to exercise, and then a third of your life is spent, you've got to get the right kind of sleep. How important is this?
Well, it's the recovery process for the body, man.
if you're not taking care of this properly, you could run into, I mean, how many people they just sleep deprivation and then they're driving down the highway and wrecking their car? I mean, how many times in my head I'm nodding like this, I'm like, you got to get that good night's sleep.
The brain's a complicated thing, and we don't fully understand it. I mean, if you look at stroke victims and all these all these different things that happen to people, and but what we do know is that sleep is the recovery process for the body. It rebuilds, it heals, and you've got to go through those different stages. I'm no scientist, but when you see it every day and somebody gets a better night's sleep, they're getting better support. Maybe they had back surgery or hips or knees, cervical surgeries, things like that. We see it all. I mean,
wow, yeah, there's just so much your body depends on. It's that recovery process, and that's why we have the luxury of having an expert here. Doug Belleville, welcome to the show. For second half hour here, we're going to enlighten a lot of people. But tell me then, I'd like to start off the second show with, what's the biggest mistake that the average consumer makes when they're considering the purchase of a bed?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, for me personally, I think it's that they just don't go into a showroom like STL beds and lay on the bed. And that's easy for me to say as an owner because, obviously if they don't come, they're not going to buy, right? But it's like kicking the tires, right? That old saying, you got to kick the tires. But I think doing that test rest, if you're a side sleeper, get in the bed, lay on your side, see how, is it hurting your shoulders, is it hurting your hips, those bony protrusions that everybody feels if they're a side sleeper. Or if you're a back sleeper, is it hitting the small of your back? Or
if you switch around a lot, like
if you move around, can you move around?
Yeah.
Does the bed give you optimal movement ability? So yeah, those things are all factors in mobility as we age. Pressure points even become more crucial. Getting in and out of the bed, falling out of bed. Those are all things that we deal with quite a bit. So
how does this all factor into the different types of materials? You talked about that a little bit in the first show, but you've got all kinds of different methods or means by which people have made their beds. And how does that impact, like the contact it has with your skin or the way your allergies? Tell me why you would choose one type of material over another.
You're a ball guy, aren't you? You like baseball, don't you?
Baseball, yeah.
Just a little bit. So you've been to a ball game, sat on the bleachers.
Yeah.
So tell me what happens to your rumpus. Right. After you've been there for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, you've got to do a little stretch and get up.
Yeah, you gotta do a little repositioning, don't you?
Right.
So, the old saying was back in the 1960s and 70s: the harder a bed is, the better it is for you. Shove a board underneath. Remember all those?
I might have missed that.
Yeah, well, that's you used to hear that come out of quite a few physicians' mouth, and
really?
now not so much they don't say that. They tend to say firm support and the right amount of cushioning. But at the end of the day, think about water beds. What did they do better than any other bed out there? They reduced pressure points. And when you can reduce those pressure points, you reduce tossing and turning, just like when you're sitting on that bleacher and that old tuchus starts falling asleep, right? So
you start to shift, and you're going like this, and then you get to upgrade, and that's what I'm talking about. So you get the upgraded seat, you get the upgraded bed, less pressure points, more comfort, because you get into the green seats or the lower level, you've got that padded seat. That's a lot easier for
we have a really good demonstration. It's an old park bench, and we put these 3 pieces of material on it. One is just regular polyurethane foam. The other one is memory foam, which everybody's kind of familiar with, the Tempur-Pedic type of styles, right? And then natural latex rubber. And we'll make them sit on the bench. Let them remember what that ball game feels like after sitting there watching for a couple hours, right? and then we'll put them on that piece of polyurethane foam, which feels really good, but you just bottom right out. And then you put them on the memory foam. It's a little bit better. But then when you go to something like all natural rubber, you almost get this buoyant feel. And it is absolutely spectacular. You just kind of feel like you're hovering on it. And it don't matter how big or small you are, it's just how the material, it gives uplifting bottomless support. And on top of it, it's extremely breathable. So, you know, when you have optimal temperature, you're going to sleep well, and, you know, without getting into a whole spiel, but you know, that's the keys or the ingredients to a good night of sleep.
That makes a lot of sense. To a baseball guy like myself, yeah, you can see the difference in somebody's just comfort level when they're sitting there watching a game.
Right.
And just, it's interesting
Yeah,
because
you're just all...
people will sneak around.
Right.
They'll sneak
Right.
down to the lower seats at the Cardinal games because they know it's like the first 15, 20 rows. They've got, you know, depending on what part of the stadium you're in, to get out of those bleachers, those are the cheaper seats. You don't get the padded seat, but you get then you get the padded front and the bottom and the back. Now you might as well have a lazy boy right there. This is where you really get to enjoy the game.
I'm gonna have to remember that. Now I feel like I know a guy. See, I can get right back there.
Well, and it's yeah. You give me a call if I find some empty seats. I know most of the
All right.
guys down there.
It's a deal.
And they'll say, "Hey, Cowboy, yeah, no, I've got." Guy said, "I got some friends that would like to come down and sit in the lower seats. Is there anybody you know?" And depending on the time of the day and how many people, if it's a packed house, you're going to get in trouble doing that. But if they've got an empty seat available, yeah, the people like to have like their bed, right? Why wouldn't you want to have a bed that has all of those extra features? And it's not like what is the range? What on your lower end models? What are you missing, and what price points does it make to where you're going to get to this stuff?
That's a great question. So essentially, you know, like the old days, it was just coil springs and maybe a little bit of foam or padding on them. In the old days, it was just cotton padding and maybe a little fabric. Remember the cartoons where the coil would the spring would break and it poked the little cartoon and they'd scream and hit the ceiling, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So you don't really see broken springs like you used to because there's so much padding on the top.
There's layers in there.
Right. So you don't really feel a spring break anymore, and they don't really break like they did in the past because you got all this cushioning. When you press down on a spring, it wants to push back. So that padding helps relieve that counter pressure, that pushing back in there. So that's your older technology, but we've put those newer foams and fabrics and latex and memory foam on top of those coils and then put really nice fabrics that breathe and flex with your body. And then we move up to things like memory foam, which is basically polyurethane foam on steroids. It's almost like quicksand. It just really molds and contours to your body. If you've ever seen like the Tempur-Pedic commercials, for example, they put a glass of wine on one corner, right? And somebody walks over here and it doesn't mess up that glass of wine.
Right.
There are lots of Tempur-Pedic type companies out there that use memory foam like that. We have what we feel is a superior product, and it does just that. Contours, relieves that pressure, but we feel it lasts longer because of how it's built. Latex rubber, all natural rubber. It just kind of takes that polyurethane foam and that memory foam to a whole nother level, you know. So durability, now you're talking about beds that go 10, 15, 20 years, you know, that type of thing. So
yeah, when you break it down from a cost analysis and ROI perspective, there's just, why wouldn't you want to get a nicer quality bed? Because does it pay off? I mean, ultimately, these beds that you buy that are less expensive, they wear out faster. They're not going to be comfortable. They're going to have torn edges. Things break down on them more quickly.
Well, not only that, you were mentioning the cost. You know, like the cost per year. You know, you take a $2,000 bed and you have it 10 years. What is that? $200 a year. You know, you can't stay at a hotel for 2 nights. I mean, just if people would just think about that, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, it's $2,000, but it's over 10 years. When you dollar cost average it, find another thing in your life that you use that much, you know, that has that much impact on your health.
Right.
It's
8 hours a day, everybody. I mean, that's how often? What is the average sleep for an American these days? Are they sticking to that 8 hours a day? I guess it depends on the.
It depends on the job, you know.
Right.
If you're a mattress store owner, you get to sleep a little bit more. I might be above that average, and then, you know, there's Arnold, our sloth, you know,
right.
our little mascot. He probably sleeps a little bit more than that, I think. But
that was a great mascot. I like that because it's a matter of, like, if you think about somebody who's always sleeping, it seems like those sloths, they are always finding a way to rest their eyes, but they don't get the comfort of a nice bed like you recommend. If you had to pick a bed, as you said, here's the bed that will make for the most comfortable sleep. Do you have any particulars that you recommend that stand out?
Well, first of all, just get in and try it. Because clicking on a button, and you can do that with me too, right?
You can buy them
right, you can buy them online. But before you do something like that, go into a store and see what you like, and go through this process of elimination. You'll find things that you like. You'll find things that you don't like. Some will be too hard. Some will be too soft, and that's hard to tell from clicking a button, right?
Yeah.
So it's Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? You got the too firm, too soft, just right.
That's right.
And that's our goal, is to kind of go through that process of elimination with our customers and help them find that one that's just right.
And you can only do that if you have a store location at a physical place where you can go in. And you said you've got about 6,000 total square foot of
8,000, yeah, total, but about 4,000 is display area.
Display area.
Yeah.
Where you can literally go up, lay down, test it out, press the buttons, feel the foam.
Jump up and down. Yeah.
There's only so far we let people go with testing it out, but they could lay down there.
We don't cover that under warranty, though. You know?
No guarantees for the
right.
I got you. Happy ending, if they would say, but literally, like, this is one of the most important things that somebody should consider for their own health, and that's what a lot of people don't consider. They don't think about. I'll never forget. I went on a tour one time. We were doing this business event, and we had guys staying in the same room, and he slept on the floor. That was what he preferred. Now, he's from Asia. And I didn't quite understand, but that's what he said. That was what he was used to. Left an empty bed for us.
Right.
But that's not normal. 99% of people, they want to have a nice, soft, cushy bed. And then it's a matter of how much pillow top do they have. What's the range on pillow tops these days?
Well, so that's another whole thing, mattress thickness, when you're buying sheets and things like that. I mean, you can have your standard 8-inch mattress, which is what they all were back in the 1960s and 70s. And then you got into the 80s, and we started building these beds thicker and thicker and thicker. Because now we don't have box springs in beds anymore. That little box spring that used to be underneath of it, most of those don't have springs in them. They're actually just a wooden pallet now. Some of them have steel in them, but they're not flexible.
They're just a filler to raise the bed up.
Yeah, they're cheating. They're cheating.
Get it up a little bit higher.
It's what it is. It's an elevation, so it doesn't fall through the frame. But yeah, I think box springs and mattresses, they've been around a long time, and we kind of take them for granted, and it's like nobody ever wants to decorate their bedroom because it's in the back of the house. They want the living room to look pretty. They want the kitchen to look pretty, and that's where I think the mattress can really shine. This is something you can do for yourself, and taking the time to treat yourself right, find a right mattress, and going into a store like STL Beds or somebody else. You're just finding a bed that's comfortable and fits you. It's like a pair of shoes. If you do that, you're going to be really happy, and you're going to feel really good.
Well, that's what we're looking for. Tell me, Tom, you've had thousands and thousands of clients, guests,
literally,
customers come through your store. Give me a couple examples of somebody where you could tell they were just on the wrong path, and you had to help them out. And you really felt you got them on path and really helped somebody out.
Well, I had my dad. I never forget, but he had this customer come in, and she was on her third brand name mattress, and she asked him. She said, "If I buy this mattress and I have a problem with it, are you gonna replace it? Are you gonna take care of me?" My dad said, "Well, no." And she said, "What do you mean you're not gonna take care of me?" He said, "Hear me out." He said. What if I only make money if my mouth's moving, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to invite me out for beer and barbecue out at your house when all your friends and family are there, right? And then I can talk about the bed that I sold you, and I can talk about the beds that I have here. But if I sell you a bed and it breaks down, and you're on your fourth bed, that doesn't do me a bit of good. So I think that's a customer that probably, if they would have just taken their time and compared apples to apples instead of apples to bananas, they would be in a much better place. And the bed failed because it just had weak materials in it. And she said every one of these beds did the same thing. They just gave me another one, and then they gave me another one. And Dad said, "Well, are you tired of that?" So
Yeah, reputation, getting
Right.
a good quality product that they will refer to other people. That's what you're talking about there. Word of mouth is the most powerful form of advertising, most people would argue. And she did not have a good experience, and that's not going to help. She's not referring anybody to the bed that she bought.
and we did not have he did sell her the bed, and no news is usually good news in this business. So
She didn't come back to say,
She did not
my
come
bed
back,
needed to
no.
get fixed. You didn't take care of this the right way.
correct.
Tell me then, as a business owner, what was one of the biggest challenges with 39 years in business? Was it that rebranding was the biggest change that you guys had to go through? What was one of the biggest hurdles you've had to overcome that helped make you a stronger, better business? Sustaining that?
Competition, because yeah, capitalism's a little bit different these days. It tends to be more corporate capitalism, maybe, right? So you got all these big companies, and there's, you think there's room out here, but they just keep buying all these little companies up, and there's not many of us left. So the biggest challenge is how do you compete with companies that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in advertising, or even millions of dollars of advertising? I mean, when you're just one little mom and pop store in Arnold, Missouri, right? So we figured out that just listening to that customer and understanding their needs, their wants, and addressing those, and then also, the way you get 4.9 stars is you don't put junk in their house. You put good products out there. You service them well. You give them service before, during, and after this whole process. And if you do that,
The results will 270 plus reviews we're talking about there, 39 going on 40 years in business. Great example for our community. With that, we're going to share with you a little bit of the fun we had at the Cardinal game. These kids were throwing out the first pitch. Check it out. Hey everybody, we've got some baseball players in the building here. Who's your guys? First of all, let's talk about who's your guys' favorite player? Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper. Tyler. Last name. Mason Wynn. Fernando Tatis Jr. Aaron Judge. Who'd you get? Bryce. All right. So we got a Cardinal fan in there. You guys are from the Misfits, right? You guys are from down close to Paducah, Kentucky, right? How long a drive was it to get up there? Only a couple. It wasn't that long. Hey, like I said, when you get older, you start playing big league ball and traveling on and stuff. It's gonna be a lot longer drives. Maybe okay for that? We're gonna pay you well. Okay? You ready? All right. So, why did you guys decide to come up here to see the Cardinals? Come on up here. Let's hear what they say. Why did you decide you want to come see the Cardinals? What's your name first?
Hunter.
Hunter. Why did you decide to come see the Cardinals?
Because we're playing a tournament here.
Because you're playing a tournament here. What about you?
They decided to.
They decided to. Why did you decide to come up here? Are you one of the players?
He's a bad boy.
He's a bad boy? Okay.
Bad boy.
All right, now we got something else going on kind of exciting here.
His name is Carter Rethwich, but in St. Louis, he's known as the Cardinal Cowboy. He's a well-known fixture in the stands at sporting events in the Gateway City. He's one of its greatest cheerleaders, a super fan like no other. When he makes his rounds at almost every home game, he shares his love for sports with the rest of fandom with a smile, a cheer, some positive encouragement, and lots and lots of selfies and pics. But the Cardinal Cowboy was born of a tragic incident. Rethwich was an aspiring athlete in high school and college. He dreamed of playing in the big leagues, but those dreams ended when he and 3 of his college friends were hit with a devastating crash by a 5-time drunk driver. One of his best friends died. Carter suffered a critical head injury. The trauma put him in a coma for 6 days. The doctors said he was never expected to function again. Those expectations never came true. He fought back and finished college. He was determined to prove the doctors wrong. Among other inspirations, it was his love of baseball that kept him going. And from his near-death experience, the Cardinal Cowboy emerged. His goal in life became to inspire others with positivity despite the odds, to help people believe in themselves and achieve their dreams.
So we're looking for the small business owners and leaders in our community to be on our show. This is the Your Little Castle Show. We air 3 times a week, every week on ABC, and we would like to put somebody you know, or maybe it's you, who's a business owner, to be on our show. You'll sit right here in our guest chair, right here, sitting here talking to us. We're going to put on the wall your website and everything about you, and highlight you as a leader. Fill out the form you see here on our website. It's bigleagues.com, and if you go to bigleagues.com, fill out this form. Takes just a couple seconds, and you can even schedule yourself right here. Schedule yourself to be on the show, and there is no charge for us to record you. There's no charge to be in the studio. Check it out if you would like to be on. Fill out the form again, bigleagues.com. This is where we can turn any interview into a series of clips. Check that out. Go to bigleagues.com. Well, there we have it, everybody. Lots of the fun stuff we get to do in the community, and those leaders making a difference. Media has changed the world. Technology changes the world. If you guys are familiar, yours truly wrote the foreword here, the introduction. They said Cardi essentially wrote the first chapter, but this is Magnetize Your Media, #1 seller on Amazon, and I got to introduce the book and talk about how important this is. I even put one of my mugshots in there, but how has technology changed the way you run a business? Somebody who's been doing this since 1986, before the whole interwebs and all that. You talked about it. You got a good story there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've come a long way from just, what the newspaper and people driving by, and but essentially I left the business back in, I guess it was 2006, and while I was gone, I went to 3 free library classes and took some classes there, and in the end, the guy said, "Well, what do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, I sell mattresses." "What are you building a website for?" And I said, "Well, because it saves me money." He goes, "Does it?" So I hired him, and the whole thing took off. So now we sell mattresses, coast to coast. I go from Maine to Washington to California to Florida, and it was amazing. We had to figure out the logistics. I mean, how do you get a heavy mattress, big, awkward, into maybe a little old lady's second story home or something, and that's not easy when you're sitting here in Arnold, Missouri, and maybe they're out in Washington or something. So you have to figure that out, and there's other businesses out there that will help you with that, and you have to figure that out. And we had some growing pains, but we worked through it. And then 2006 we rebranded from the Waterworks to STL Beds.
I like that, yeah.
Yep, local, and born right here, and business right here, and and family, friends, supported us, and then word of mouth, and and obviously reviews, things like that. So, but the internet has changed the world. I mean, literally, it's half our business. I mean, you can't make it without a quality website. You really can't.
Well, that's where we came in with this idea that if somebody could sit down for half an hour before they spend $800, $2,000, $5,000 on a bed, they might want to get to know who they're going to spend that kind of money with. So this has become I'll show you some of the trade secrets that we can share with you to help make this successful. But tell me, this is great information for somebody. What's the process for somebody that decides they want to buy a bed from you? And let's say they're in the St. Louis area. Walk them through that. Well,
the first thing is, sometimes that starts with a phone call. They'll ask a simple question. I'm gonna, we'll ask them what size they want. Space is part of comfort too. Maybe if they have the room from going to a queen size to a king size, they're going to pick up another 16 inches of space, right? What a lot of people don't understand is if you have a queen size bed. By the way, if you have a queen size bed, it's 60 inches wide. Cut that thing in half, and that's only 30 inches. If your kid has a twin size, that's 38. So you're getting less space than your kid is. So if you want a queen size bed, so just remember that next time you buy a bed.
Right.
But yeah, it starts with size. Or what size do we want to get? What do you have now? How long have you been sleeping on it? What do you want to stay with? If you've been on a regular mattress all your life, do you want to try some of the new things? You can explore these things in a showroom like ours. It's comfortable, it's heated. We have heat. We have air conditioning in summer. And you come in, you lay down. We expect you to do that. We've got put your feet up on it, make yourself at home, and you go through a process of elimination. It's almost like a tasting. You see what you like.
And you've got it all there, and somebody can make a decision. How long does the average person spend shopping for a bed?
I would say the average person probably only a couple days. But somebody like myself, I'm pretty inquisitive. Takes me a while. I've got to really dig, and I got to know what I'm getting. I got to know everything about it. I get into the weeds. But then there's other people. They'll just walk in. I'll take that one right there. So it runs the gamut, as far as different types of people and how long it takes to go through that process. But I'd say a couple days usually.
How many options are there? When you boil it down, you've got how many manufacturers and how many different models, and when you've got something to choose from, you're looking at what?
In my store, we have close to 50 beds. Okay. But
they're all different.
They're all different. Where you go into like one of the biggest chains in St. Louis, and you're going to see S brands, S brand, S brand, S brand, S brand, and it'll all be the same basic mattresses with the same, with those S names on them.
Yeah.
When you come into my store, you see a hard side water bed, a soft side water bed, a flippable mattress, an organic mattress, a modular mattress where you can change out and customize the layers. You could have memory foam. You could have a hybrid. In fact, all mattresses are hybrid. It's kind of a little pet peeve of mine, by the way. A lot of people come in asking for these hybrid mattresses. Have you heard about those?
No, tell me.
Yeah, hybrid's kind of the buzzword now, and when everybody determined that a certain mattress was having a certain problem, they worked around it with this hybrid, and the hybrid is basically coil springs with different types of memory foam on it, and it had problems too. So what they did is they started adding cooling features to it. Well, these cooling features start wearing off after about a half an hour and a half, and the bed's just like everybody else's. But if you remember, hybrid's just this, right? It's just a mix of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, mattresses for 100 years have been a mix of stuff. So I guess that's probably. Now, I didn't want to know a lot about pet peeves, but hybrids, yeah, we carry those too. So
I've been around and explain to somebody what that really is, and what that is. I've done some shopping for mattresses, and I think talking about 50. I'm like, wait a minute. When I went there, there was 3 of this one and 3 of that one, and maybe 3 more, and there was like 9 total, and there were just 3 very middle, low, and high, and it was really only 3 to choose from.
I don't know about you, but I don't know. Shopping, it's not fun. I'm not really a big shopper, honestly. But shopping for a mattress, is this exciting stuff or what? But we try to make it fun, and it's fun to get something new. And if you're if they do cost a little bit of money, and when you get home, you want to feel like you got your money's worth, and that's really our goal. We want satisfied customers are happy customers. Happy customers tell other people, and for a small business, word of mouth is the key. Friends, family, thank you, all of you. We can't do it without you and the people that you've sent in, and even finding you, was through Brent, through Matchbox Design. So referrals are a big part of any business, any small business.
Yeah, word of mouth. Get the word out. Take this video, share it to everybody. Let people know there's an expert in St. Louis that can help you right here in St. Louis, South County area. 30-minute drive from just about anybody, and you can get down there. Your
Absolutely.
Location. Take 55 right there to 141. I've been down there many times. Stay tuned for more, everybody. Giddy up.